If your kids are 6 months, you may be in for some good news. Next week, the FDA is going to advise COVID vaccines for the youngest children.
Tonight, the youngest Americans are another step closer to getting COVID vaccines as soon as next week. The FDA authorized vaccines by Moderna and Pfizer for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. The final decision will be made by the CDC, which could happen just this weekend.
And this weekend, we could know what happened, and we'll give it to you on Give Me a Break Saturday night. As for the cases, this ain't good. We are at over 6,100 new cases with 14 deaths. New Essex County, 96. That means a total of close to 96,000. We're almost at 100 new cases with 1,500 deaths still. 14.1% positive, 49,000 positive tests, and over 350,000 tests have been taken. Hospitalization rates, 25,000. And over 2,800 people have been in ICU. Vaccinations, 21.4, 75%. And 18 million fully vaccinated, that's 62.9%. In the U.S., there's been over 592 million doses given, fully vaccinated 202 million. 67.4% of the population has been fully vaccinated. The highest has to be California. As for our schools, there hasn't been any updates. So we'll know. So in August, 2 months from now, they will update their cases, and we will assure more updates will be given. It is Flashback Friday after all, so let's flash back to, do you remember when the first time the pandemic hit, truancy was on the rise? If you don't remember, let me play you a clip. Because of truancy. Truancy was on the rise because of the pandemic. Take a look.
Truancy is rising at an alarming rate across the state, and here in the coastal bend, where student absences have always been a problem, things are particularly bad because of the pandemic. Our Nora Pettis spoke to 2 of our area truancy judges to find out how they're handling these cases during this challenging time.
I've spoken to quite a few judges throughout Texas. We have over 1,000 truancy judges, and they're in the same boat.
Judge Joe Benavides talking about truancy cases and how they've risen during the pandemic. One cause, issues with students and parents keeping up with assignments while doing online classes. Parents say sometimes their kids are being counted absent when they've simply failed to turn in work by a certain time. Judge Benavides says he's heard many stories of families who are at the breaking point, dealing with job loss, illness, loss of childcare, and other issues that have been severely disruptive to their children's education.
There's teenagers working at Whataburger, working at Burger King, working at McDonald's. These kids are working because they're trying to help mom or dad pay the bills. You know, these are cases and cases of evictions right here and debt claims. It's really getting really bad. Parents on my side are struggling a lot.
Judge Thelma Rodriguez, who also hears truancy cases for CCISD and other districts in the area, says she and her fellow justices are handling these cases a little differently now, trying to help families who are struggling.
Mostly all doing deferred orders, which is like a probation period, and it's for counseling services to get with the students, virtual counseling services.
Both judges say they are trying to find nonprofit organizations, grants, and other community programs to help these families, most of whom are trying their best to see to their children's education in these extraordinary conditions.
We're not here to argue the child should be in school, the parent should be behind the iPad with the child. We're just trying to find solutions.
Nora Bettis, 3 News.
And since the pandemic, truancy has not been on the rise during the pandemic, but Judge Joe Benavides is on the news again. And this time, he's addressing truancy in New Oasis County because, as you know, truancy is a growing problem here in New Oasis County. Let's take a look.
Continues to be a big problem in the Coastal Bend, and now one of our judges is addressing that issue. Judge Joe Benavides presides over several school districts, including Calallen, West Oso, and part of CCISD. He says that setting up students for success depends on parents getting them to practice good habits from an early age.
And I think it's most important that we stress out to the parents that it is very, very important for our children to be in school at the elementary level, because if we don't structure these kids to be in school at the elementary level, then we have issues at the middle school level.
Judge Benavides says that students at all levels have been greatly affected by the pandemic, and it's been a struggle for some kids to get back into the routine of in-person schooling.
Coming up next, we're going to take you to California, where the truancy rate from years ago was over 70%. You'll meet the deputy city attorney. You'll also meet a police officer, and you'll meet people from those California schools. Hear what they have to say about what causes truancy, the definition of truancy, and how it can happen when we return. Up front tonight, the truancy problem. For over 5 years on this show, I have been telling you guys to stay in school. We focus in on truancy court, the causes of truancy, heard from truancy judges, and went into truancy court. Now, just moments ago, we heard from Judge Joe Benavides on what issue can be done. Let's take you now to California in Hollenbeck, to where it's a similar problem. You're about to meet the city deputy attorney. You'll also meet a police officer, and you'll meet people, and you'll meet school officials who can tell you why truancy is bad. And you'll also meet some students who have been bullied. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Luis, and I'm a student here at Hollenbeck Middle School. Right now, our school is empty because we are on summer break. But what happens when school starts and students are supposed to be in class, getting an education, don't come, and they just skip school? According to the California Department of Education, the truancy rate at Hollenbeck Middle School in 2014 was 75%. Us Pell kids, well, we've seen a lot of ditching here at Hollenbeck, and we wanted to know why and what can be done about it. This is Cynthia Gonzalez, and she's a city attorney at the Hollenbeck Police Station.
Hello, Mrs. Gonzalez. What is the definition of truancy?
What truancy is defined as? So one truancy is 3 unexcused absences. So if you're ditching and you ditch one day, that counts as 1 of 3.
Is ditching similar to truancy?
You know, it is. It's very, very similar, because when you say ditching, that just means, you ditched one day. But technically, by definition, you have to ditch 3 times to become truant.
How big of a problem is truancy in Boyle Heights?
It's a huge problem.
Truancy is bad because it affects your attendance, and then it also takes you in bad routes in school. You start messing up with your grades, you start slacking.
If the kids don't get their education, what can happen is that they're gonna live in the streets if they don't have money or work in Burger King or restaurants.
I am very concerned about truancy, especially here at the middle school level, because when kids don't come to school, they aren't learning, they're missing out on their academic content. And if you don't come to school, then you're gonna be behind, and then when you come back, it's going to be difficult to catch up. And so it makes school seem a lot harder than what it actually is.
The school loses money, federal money, for attendance. through all the periods, not just one period.
We use valuable money to the school for supplies and curriculum for the students to learn.
It's bad. It's bad for schools. It's bad for kids. It's bad for families. It's bad for communities.
Does truancy affect crime and the quality of life in the community?
There's a big correlation, meaning there's a big connection between truancy, gangs, and crime.
When I was still working patrol, there was countless amount of kids who would just be out roaming around during the week, during school hours.
So they stopped going to school, they ended up getting in trouble, they ended up joining gangs, and when you're a gang member, you get involved in a lot of crime. So there is a big connection between being truant and crime.
What are some causes of truancy? And what I mean by that is, why do you think kids skip school?
I think that there's probably a lot of reasons why kids skip school. Nowadays, I think one of the really big reasons is bullying. I think there's a lot of bullying that goes on in school, and I think in order for a kid to not go and have to deal with that bully, they just don't go.
Ever since preschool, I've been bullied, but I've always had to find a way to get past it. And kids are still bullying me now at 11, but it really doesn't affect me anymore because I just learned to ignore it. I've also seen kids bullying other kids, and I just don't think it's right.
If you're being bullied at school, who wants to be bullied? You're gonna skip out in school. You'll make up any excuse to not have to be bullied.
In our research, we found that a lot of people are saying that it's the school's fault or it's the parents.
That's something we have to talk about. We're going to talk about that today, tonight.
I kind of think everyone's right, because if you really, really look at it, everyone's kind of at fault.
The parent has the responsibility of the student is younger, taking them to school on time, being involved in the school, in the parent conferences, and the back to school night.
It's something that we need to work hard to make sure that students aren't truant, that they're in school, but we also have to provide them with an interesting learning environment so that they want to be here.
I think first we have to make school fun, interesting, and exciting for students. So that is number one. The other thing is to figure out why are students being truant. Is there any issues at home with family? Any issues on the way to school that might be keeping a student from coming? And finding out what are some of the ways that we can support students by maybe connecting them with resources, community organizations, or counseling.
A lot of the students need to start taking a little more personal responsibility in making better choices. Because, like I said earlier, regardless of how many excuses you want to make for choosing to ditch, you still chose to ditch.
If you don't go to school, what can you do tomorrow? Be in the street? You have to prepare yourself for the future and be a good person, somebody good for the community, for the society.
To talk to them. They're still teenagers, their hormones are still coming, and they're not sure what they're feeling right now. Some are feeling sadness, depression, like that, or something's wrong with their family, or something's wrong. Just talk to them. They're just human beings as well as us. And we have that same time when we feel like we need somebody to talk to us, and because our education is the most important one of all, and that's what we need the most.
I agree 100% with what Maya Well said. Just talk to us, believe in us, it could go a long way. Well, thank you for watching. We hope we started a good conversation about truancy.
And there's other causes of truancy, like there's lots of other causes, like we talked about. And there's also YouTubers that have tried to have skipped class for videos. Tom Tracy, Jack Doherty, Yusuf B. I can't pronounce that name, but he deleted his channel. I don't know why he did, but if I had shown you his videos, then it would have been a great opportunity. But a lot of other causes can be children playing because they want to sit here and play video games. They want to watch movies. They want to go hang out with their friends. They want to go see the brand new Buzz Lightyear movie, which is going to be out in theaters. Was already out of theaters or out of theaters right now. I'm not sure. I'm not keeping up with all the hot issues going on because I deal with stuff like this and it's being taken very seriously. So what else can be done? Parents, you need to make sure you talk to your kids about skipping class, I recommend you watch this episode with your child and all the other videos. And if you want to learn more about how you can talk to your kids about not skipping class, how important education is, you can visit the Give Me a Break newsletter at givemeabreak.substack.com. You'll also find tips for kids on how to not skip class and what they can do to make sure that they're not being bullied. Because as we said, like I said in the Stop Bullying, Speak Up, the causes of truancy, kids skipping class, is bullying. And as we've been talking about 5 years ago, in Nueces County, it's a growing issue. There was truancy in night court for Judge Joe Benavides, and during the pandemic, the cases were on the rise. And in other states, they have arrested parents. And in my 5 years, I've never seen a parent being arrested for not sending their kids to school, which is educational neglect. There's more. Give me a break when we return. I want to bring you up to speed on an issue we've been talking about for a year. Last season, we brought you the issue of the January 6th riot in Washington, D.C. Now, throughout the days, there's now a hearing about this. President Trump isn't being involved in this, especially the vice president. But there is a role being played. A lot of men have been arrested. A lot of people have been arrested for this, and I just have to keep you posted. So that's all we're going to update you on. So Give Me a Break continues in just a moment. For 3 weeks, I've been telling you about a massive school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Here, in case you weren't around, let's recap for you. Over 20 kids have been killed, and those teachers. One teacher spoke out to Amy Robach on Good Morning America to tell his side of the story. Then there was a survivor who told her side of the story. Now the police chief of the school district is involved. Now, and as we've been reporting on this, the reason why he didn't get his walkie-talkie was because he was on the cell phone. Now, if you're on the cell phone, you don't have a walkie-talkie on you, then that's causing a lot of issues. Now there's new developments into this. There's new information and about the open records request. Let's take a look at those two.
Tonight with another stunning report related to the shooting at Robb Elementary. The New York Times says a Uvalde City police officer had a chance to shoot the gunman before he entered the school, but the officer did not take the shot. He was reportedly worried he'd miss and hit a child. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Isis Romero. State lawmakers will have an opportunity to ask city police about this. KENS 5 reporter Matt Houston joins us live with more on this story. Matt?
Yeah, Isis, the Times really said it best. This new information represents law enforcement's second opportunity to stop the shooter before he entered the elementary school. We already told you a school officer mistook a teacher for the gunman and drove right past the 18-year-old. Now this. The Times, citing a second-hand account of May 24th's events, reports the gunman fired at 2 Uvalde City police before he entered the school. The officers reportedly took cover, but didn't return fire because there were kids playing nearby. One of the officers was armed with his own AR-15 style rifle, the paper says.
I'll point out where it is.
DPS maintains city police went inside the school before any other officials, just 2 minutes behind the gunman.
The 3 initial police officers that arrived went directly to the door, and 2 received grazing wounds at that time from the suspect, while the door was closed.
Lawmakers will ask city police about their response. UPD officers who weren't initially eager to share their story with House investigators have now agreed to testify.
Took a little bit longer than we initially had expected, but those conversations did develop through the day, and so they are going to be cooperating.
This week, Representative Dustin Burrows, leading the House's work, questioned why Uvalde police wouldn't want to, quote, help determine the facts for the Uvalde community. After that pressure and a series of talks involving lawmakers, city and department leadership, UPD signed on. School Police Chief Pete Adedondo arrived around the same time, and he says he went in with another city officer. He has not yet agreed to testify to these investigators. Matt Houston, Kings 5.
Meantime, Uvalde is preparing for a legal fight over records related to this investigation. The city has hired an attorney to argue that certain pieces of evidence, including body camera footage, should not be publicly released. Nearly 150 outlets have asked for copies of records related to the shooting. The Attorney General has a little more than a month to decide whether to keep that evidence sealed.
And we will also keep you posted as this time. But the school district denies the open records request. Why?
State lawmakers met for a second day of hearings in Uvalde, and tonight questions still remain about the 21 lives lost at Robb Elementary after a man made his way inside the school with an AR-15 style rifle. Our Grace White joins us with what's making the search for answers so tough. Grace.
The city and school district and Uvalde have been denying open records requests, and as victims' families continue to push for answers, today a committee of state lawmakers met mostly behind closed doors.
Before this committee is willing to announce what we believe is to be factual, accurate information, we want to hear from all sides.
In Uvalde, there is still pain, still grieving, and still questions.
I was misled. I am livid.
Governor Abbott, who initially praised the police response, later changed his tune when the timeline revealed it took more than an hour to confront the shooter. The governor's handwritten notes obtained by KVUE and the Austin American-Statesman did not mention the delay, raising questions about what the governor was told and why that information was left out. Answers attorney Joseph Larson says are going to be hard to get.
Well, there's a lot of CYA involved. There's no doubt about that.
KHU11's filed open records requests for everything from 911 calls to police body camera footage. But so far, nothing has been released.
The only way that these types of problems ever get fixed is if the public can learn about the problems and apply the pressure necessary to get problems fixed.
Committee meetings will resume Monday in Uvalde. The members are expected to produce a report by the end of the month on what they find. Grace White, KHOU 11 News.
And that's going to happen within the end of the month. Within the 1 month anniversary of that shooting. So we will know. And we will know what happens. But, as we've been pointing out before, these mass shootings continue. Probably because of the pandemic. But there is now another school. There's now another mass shooting in an Alabama church.
Shooting at a church in Alabama left 3 people dead. Police say the attack took place at a church potluck dinner in a suburb of Birmingham. Now, the suspect has been identified as a 70-year-old man who attended services at that church previously. 2 of the victims were 84 and 1 was 75 years old. Now, the suspect was subdued by a churchgoer and held until police arrived.
That was very heroic. But things have got to change here. It's like you have to know that. And there's also another update from Uvalde. The Uvalde police will be helping out with Houston.
Yes, the chairman of the House Investigative Committee, State Representative Dustin Burrows, says after several conversations with the City of Uvalde Police Department, he was told officers will cooperate and will testify. Yesterday, Burrows says that cooperation was still a question mark. The State House Committee investigating the police response to the mass shooting started their day touring Robb Elementary School with the district superintendent. After the tour, the 3 committee members laid a wreath at the memorial to the 19 students and 2 teachers murdered by an 18-year-old gunman.
The gravity of it really is immeasurable, does not have words or significance that I can express.
The committee then heard closed-door testimony from PE teacher Yvette Silva, teacher Mercedes Salas, school district police officer Ruby Gonzalez, and Lieutenant Mike Hernandez. All declined to talk after completing their testimony. City of Uvalde police are expected to testify next week.
Took a little bit longer than we initially had expected, but those conversations did develop through the day, and so they are going to be cooperating with that.
The committee also took the time to speak with a parent who's attended these hearings and questioned why information was being gathered behind closed doors. Burrows relayed part of that conversation.
And before this committee is willing to announce what we believe is to be factual, accurate information, we want to hear from all sides and all different viewpoints. It's the way we know that we feel works and we believe in it, and it's only to try to get to the bottom of it so I can look you in the eye and tell you, sir, this is what I believe to be true.
We also asked Burrows if the school district police chief, Pete Arredondo, had agreed to testify, and he said, not yet. The committee will be back in Uvalde on Monday. We will be here as well to provide you with updates. Reporting live from Uvalde, Robert Arnold, KPRC 2 News.
And on Monday, we will provide you with more updates on Uvalde as they arrive. But will he be able to testify? Now remember this. He was involved because he had his cell phone but did not have his walkie on him. Now, hadn't he had his walkie on him and ordered not to shoot, that 18-year-old might still be alive, in jail, and this wouldn't be another mass shooting like we see in the media. I mean, school shootings have become an epidemic, and as we told you about, arming teachers could be the best solution ever, even if they're not required. If they were required, then all teachers would have to get their guns. Like, what do they want to do? Go in with a pencil or go in with a pistol? I created a short article about this. You can visit that on the Give Me Break newsletter, givemebreak.substack.com. But army teachers might be a good, and one student from Sandy Hook said, well, you're asking a teacher to defend her students with a gun, like something big like a pistol. But there is an old saying, guns don't kill people. There's an old saying, guns don't kill people. Take a look.
Well, what about practicing for the tournament after school?
No, I'd have to come here to get you and then go back across town to the range. That could eat up 10 minutes.
What about shooting after dinner?
No, you don't want to exercise on a full stomach.
Well, maybe I could take the guns to school and we could squeeze off a few rounds between classes.
You shouldn't take guns to school with you. They're dangerous.
Guns are dangerous?
What? Oh, brother. Bobby, go on and clean the guns. I'll be in there in a minute.
What's this about guns being dangerous?
Well, that's right. They kill people.
Guns don't kill people. The government does.
Oh, handguns have been around for years. If they were dangerous, I just think someone would have said something.
Most deaths in the home are from guns and gun accessories.
Let me ask you this. A guy breaks into your house, but you don't have a gun. How are you going to shoot him?
Dale, that's right out of the NRA magazine August issue.
I tell you what, man, that dang old NRA was all right, man. The insurance you get with dismemberment night like that, you get like $20,000 just for your arm blows off, man.
I can't believe you guys. Dale, the NRA is a Washington, D.C. based organization. Are you telling me you support Washington, D.C.?
That's a thinker.
I support Washington, D.C. I support the NRA. And thank God Almighty, I don't own a gun. If I did, I would buy one off of Amazon, off of eBay. No background checks, no licenses, No permits, none. Get a gun, buy it, ships to your house, boom. Then when that happens, the police start asking you, where did you get a gun? I bought it off of Amazon. Can we see the receipt where you bought the gun, please? I would have shown them the receipt. And right there would be the receipt. When did you buy this? It's on the date. There's also another phrase.
Guns don't kill people. Cops kill people.
God, it ain't true. And here's one from American Dad.
Right in our own neighborhood. Well, it's clear the time has come for me to show you where we hide our guns. Glock, 17 shots. Pen gun, mightier than the sword. Sword gun, mightier than the pen gun. AR-15, MK5, MAC-10, Paprika.
That's weird. I use that pantry a lot.
And the Paprika not enough.
I can't believe this house is teeming with guns. Guns kill.
Oh, guns kill. Is that right? Well, let's see about that. Okay, gun, kill. Go ahead, kill someone. Don't be shy. See? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns defend people against people with smaller guns.
You're such a fascist.
Peace pusher.
Murderer.
Hermaphrodite.
Stan.
I'm swinging wild, Francis.
That's enough here. There's also a thing for the Republican senator.
Can you envision a way of supporting the universal background checks bill?
Chuck, I'm going to wait and see on all these bills. You know, I think video games is a bigger problem than guns, because video games affect people. But the First Amendment limits what we can do about video games. The Second Amendment to the Constitution limits what we can do about guns.
Well, the First Amendment says you have right to free speech. The Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms. But there shouldn't be a law. There should be laws not banning freedom, not banning constitutional rights. Period. And that's the official reason to encore this ending to Guns in America, a day in the life. As we reported on before, mass shootings happen because of the pandemic. And in the last years, and during this year, we've had a lot of mass shootings, starting with schools. And with Uvalde, there's now more school threats. We're out of time. I went on tomorrow's episode. We're going to look into a lot more school threats. As we reported on this season, there's lots of school threats happening after Uvalde school shooting when TikTok got involved. That's Give Me a Break from now. Join all of us on YouTube next time for another edition of Give Me a Break. Good night.